Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. Today's clip is an overview of the Osmo Pocket wireless module from DJI. Now, I've had the product for a couple of weeks, but I always like to spend time with the product before I review it in the channel because a lot of stuff comes out and it doesn't really do what the company says it does. So I always like to take a product out in the field, use it an awful lot, make sure that I understand all the features and functions of it before I ever put a clip like this together so I can explain to you guys whether the product's worth the money and if it can do what they say it can do. Now, in the case of this wireless module, you can tell already I'm excited about it because it's a brilliant product. And I'll talk about a lot of the features and functions and why I think it's so amazing in a minute. But as far as this clip goes, I'm going to break it into a couple of different sections. I'll start off with an unboxing, which really isn't an unboxing because the only thing in the box is the module. So I've done the unboxing. But I also want to talk about the module itself, what it's designed to do. Then I'll do some measurements. I actually went outside and showed you how far you can use it from the actual device. I'll talk about some of the experiences on how you connect it up through both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to your device. And lastly, I'll give you some opinions of where I think it is used best and some caveats around maybe where you need to be careful. So let's get started with the overview. The product itself is tiny. And when I say tiny, it's hard for me to describe it. And I'll do some close-ups and show you exactly what it looks like. But when I'm thinking about this thing, I'm thinking, how do I put a clip together and explain just how small this thing is? Then I'm sitting down, I'm thinking to myself, hold on a second, I have an idea. It's about the same size as an Oreo. So if you look at it side by side with the cookie, and you can tell I've got a lot of experience with these, it's physically about the same diameter as an Oreo, completely disappears behind the cookie. Now when I put it down side by side, the actual business end of this, the electronics end of it, is really just about as thick as an Oreo as well. Now if I consider the top pieces, the two tongs on either side, that's going to involve a second Oreo. So physically, if you look at that closely, about the same height as two Oreos, two standard American Oreos, and just a little bit smaller as far as diameter goes. Now, some of you are probably watching this thinking, Rick, you're crazy using Oreos to compare this. We're a double stuff family. No problem, I got you covered. So if we had a couple of double stuff Oreos, here we go. Now that's a crazy comparison because the double stuffs are way bigger than this thing is. So comparatively, two Oreos pretty much does it for you, and the double stuffs are overkill. You don't need a double stuff in there. It's probably a little larger than a single double stuff. All right, so there's your size comparison. Now, I will be eating these cookies later, by the way, in case you're wondering. Physically, the unit itself is made out of like a polymer, like a high-impact plastic, which is important because it transmits both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And if it were a metal case, it wouldn't be able to transmit through that metal case. It would have to have one surface inside of this product that would actually allow that signal to get out and you to get back in with your signal. And that's probably the reason that it wasn't included in the original Osmo. Now, a lot of people have said, well, gee, you built this Osmo, why didn't you build Wi-Fi in? Why didn't you build Bluetooth in like the GoPro products? Remember, the GoPro products have a fairly plastic case, so most of that is a composite material, which allows radio signals in or radio signals out. With the Osmo Pocket, it's a bigger challenge because you've got less surface area to work with than you do on the GoPro. Nice big screen mounted on the top and the front. You've got metal behind here with the connection for the universal port. Two buttons down the bottom. There's a bracket behind there. There's metal holding the printed circuit board in here. So in general, there's just less area for you to reliably get a signal out of the Osmo over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to your device and then back into the unit. The other challenge is you can't have it come out one side and have that be facing away from you. You really want to have sort of a accessibility from all sides of the product, and it's such a compact design that it makes it really difficult to provide that reliable connection. So adding a Wi-Fi base like this as a module really allows you to have that ability to broadcast that signal 360 through each of the sides and not have to worry about, being off to the side of it and not getting a good connection. Having said all that, I still can't get over the fact that something this small, and this well designed, by the way, it fits perfectly on the bottom of the Osmo, has the ability to transmit and receive Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signals. It's just amazing to me. And again, when you think about something this small from an engineering perspective, this thing could have been the size of a Frisbee, and I'm still convinced that DJI has got some amazing shrink machine somewhere in their factory that they build it, then they put it in that microwave shrink machine, and it shrinks it down to the smaller size, because this is absolutely compact. It's so small that I worry I'm going to lose it some days. It has no external power to it. It draws power from the Osmo Pocket. So one thing you have to consider if you're using it is that it is drawing a little bit of power from the battery, which means you're going to get a little less use out of the battery. But they thought of that as well, because they built in a USB-C connection on the back where you can connect an external power supply to it, like a battery bank or something like that, and really extend the use of both the Wi-Fi module and your Osmo Pocket. So everything is covered by that. Now, I love it because again, I'm always looking for ways to use this in different scenarios when I'm filming. So a lot of times I'll be out in the field and I'd love to have this thing set up on a tripod and do panoramic views. Or maybe I'm at a sporting event and I want to put it on a tripod at the edge of the field and be back in my chair sort of controlling what I'm looking at in the field and following different action out in the field. This allows me to do exactly that. So the questions I had when I first got it were around things like how far could I use it? How far away could I use it? So I've done a bunch of testing on it. I'm really not going to waste your time in the Bluetooth testing because honestly, Bluetooth is nice to have, but Bluetooth is only good for 30 or 45 feet. And if you're inside, there's any kind of walls involved, it's going to drop off almost immediately. So I would recommend, even though you can connect over Bluetooth, use that as a last resort because it's really not the most robust connection. The Wi-Fi is fantastic. So when you connect over Wi-Fi, and again, I'll show you how to do both of these connections in a few minutes. When you connect over Wi-Fi, you can get an incredibly long distance. And to prove that point, I actually took it outside and set up a test bed in my backyard where I've got the camera on one end, I've got a tape measure across the ground, and I've got, this markings as I'm walking away from it to show you just how far away you can use it. And it's absolutely incredible how much distance you can get out of this over Wi-Fi. So for me, it solves the problem of remotely controlling the Osmo Pocket, which again can be on a table someplace or on a tripod, and capturing that action from a very, very far distance away. It just really expands the use case for the Osmo for me. I mean, I love it walking around with it and having it on a selfie stick and doing sort of, vlogging from it and that type of thing, or nearby filming, but the ability for me to put it someplace, walk away from it, very, very far distance, and still have the ability to stream the video to my viewfinder on my camera and control the movement of that Osmo and the functionality of all the features and functions of the video quality inside of it is really just amazing. I think they've done an outstanding job for it. So you can tell I'm raving about it because I often test products like this that claim to do a bunch of things. Then I put them into the test bed and I go outside and I work with them and I try them. Some of them work and some of them don't work. And then how do I put the clip together? Because I always want to be honest with you guys about it. All right, so the one thing that you have to be careful of with it, and this is the only flaw that I found to the unit, is the fact that only connection point is that USB-C connection. So it's a friction fit on the unit, which isn't a big deal if it's sitting on a table. But if you add this thing to a selfie stick and you have it above you and you're waving it, I guarantee you it's going to pop out. And I can tell you that from experience because on the top of my Osmo, right here, you'll see that it's not black like the rest of the frame. And that's because it popped out of a selfie stick, went tumbling down and hit the concrete, which luckily didn't damage it too badly. So it's a pretty robust unit, but I can tell you that it will pop out. I wish that the guys at DJI would have figured out some clever way of when I slide this thing on there, attaching it a little bit more permanently to the bottom of the Osmo. Maybe a strap here or magnetic or friction mount, something that go up around the body to hold it on there. But I mean, that's the small thing that I can complain about it. And that's really not that big a deal for me. I'm just more careful with it when I use it in the field. The last thing I'll tell you, and this is kind of a hint of what's coming next week, I have had a lot of people ask me why they didn't put a 1/4 inch 20 turn on the bottom of this thing so I could mount it on top of a tripod or a standard camera mount. The honest truth is when you look at this, and again, I'll do some close-ups of it, it is so thin. I mean, that body where the electronics and the brains are is thin. It's a 1/4 inch at most. There's no way they could have drilled a hole in the bottom of this thing and put that 1/4 inch turn on the bottom unless they maybe made the printed circuit board with a hole in the center and routed all their connections around it. I think it was asking too much, to be honest with you. But having said that, I found a fantastic mount for this thing that'll turn this into both a 1/4 inch mount and a mount for a tripod, a standard tripod clamp mount. So I'm going to do a review of that next week. And the hint is it's a Polar Pro product. And the good news is we're going to be offering it on the website. So stay tuned for that clip. But I wanted to get through this clip first and sort of talk about the benefits and feature of this. Now, what I'm going to do next is take you outside and show you exactly how much distance you can get out of this. And honestly, the test I set up expected a certain distance. And even at the end of that distance, it was still working really well. So I think I'm going to have to go out to a football field and really do the test over again. But for now, I did this little test in the backyard. And I think you'll find that the distance this thing can support and still control the camera is really, really impressive. When we're done with that, I'll come back and I'll show you very simply, step by step, how you can connect this up through Bluetooth to your phone or your tablet. And I'll show you also how to connect it over Wi-Fi to your devices. And it's pretty straightforward, but I know a lot of people have asked me questions about that. So stay tuned and we'll get into the outdoor test next. Then at the end of this, I'll come back with some final conclusions about the product. So thanks for watching. I'm outside with the Osmo Pocket to test the Wi-Fi base adapter. What I've done is set up the Osmo Pocket on a tripod with that base adapter. I'm going to connect over Wi-Fi to the adapter, and I'm going to walk to the far end of the yard, way down there, about 100 feet down, and see where I lose connectivity. Now, my experience has been I'll actually lose control of the Osmo before I'll lose video streaming. So I expect somewhere between here and the end of that yard, I'll lose the virtual joystick connectivity, which means I won't be able to move the head around, but I should still be able to stream. So we'll see how far it goes. Now, I've got my trusty marker here. What I'm going to do is drop this. When I get to the point where I lose connectivity for the joystick, then we'll see how much further I can go with the actual connection for Wi-Fi streaming of the video. Now I'll wave a couple of times, obviously, to see if it's still recording or not, but let's test it out and see how it goes. All right, so I'm walking back. I'll give you some markers here. 15 feet, 20 feet. Let's stop at 30 feet, right about here. Make sure we still got connectivity. Looks like we're still connected. Everything's good. Joystick, yep, joystick's still working. You can see the video moving. All right, let's get out to 50 feet. 41, 46. Now I'm at 50. Still got video. Takes a second for it to connect back up, but I've got video streaming. That's working great. How about the Wi-Fi? Let's see if I've got connection. Nope, I've lost the joystick. So let's get back to where I can pick up that joystick. Right now I'm at about 40 feet. Yep, okay, so I've got joystick control at 40 feet. Let's go back to 45. Just to try to get a measure here. Yeah, still working at 45. Maybe I turned too quickly and didn't give it a chance to catch back up. Nope, we're okay. So actually it is working, and I'm at 50 feet exactly. So let me back up as opposed to turning around on it. All right, I'm at 55. Still working great. This must be terribly boring to watch, but I want to make sure I get the numbers right. So 55. Now I'm at 60. Let's see how it does at 60. Yep, still working. You can see me, the video's still streaming, that's great. All right, now we're back at, let's go nuts and go to 70 and see what happens. All right, here's 70. All right, we still working? Yeah, got video streaming, and I got joystick control. Wow, okay, so we're at 70 feet. This is pretty cool. We might actually make it all the way to 100. All right, I'm gonna go nuts. This is 70, let's go to 80, what the heck. All right, so that's 80 feet. Let's see how we do there. Yep, video's still streaming. Joystick control's working. Okay, so we're getting really good results today. Now, I was in a crowded field last time. That might have been it. There's 90 feet. This can't possibly work at 90 feet. Yeah, it's working great. How about the joystick? Okay, joystick's working too. All right, let's go nuts and go all the way to the end. So I'm 100 feet over here in the bamboo. I don't know if... All right, I'm gonna have to go to a bigger field because now I'm at 100 feet and I still have joystick control. So for me, this is absolutely amazing that I can be 100 feet away from that Wi-Fi base, still have control, still make adjustments on the camera, and still do recording this far out. Now, you can't see me really this far out, but being this far away from it, if I'm recording something close, it's gonna give me exactly the control I need. So if I'm at a sports field or I'm at an event and I wanna record something, having control of that joystick this far away is just absolutely amazing. All right, well, there you have it. 100 feet and still going.
Now I'd like to walk you through the process of connecting to your Osmo Pocket wireless module over Bluetooth. I'm using an iPhone for this example, but the steps are exactly the same on Android, but the icons might look a little different. You want to start on the main screen of your phone and find the settings icon. When you tap the settings icon, it'll bring you into the settings menu. You want to search for Bluetooth and make sure you've turned Bluetooth on. If you haven't, tap that Bluetooth button and you'll see all the Bluetooth targets come up. You should see an Osmo Pocket in there as a target for connectivity over Bluetooth. Tap that. It'll take a couple of seconds, but eventually your device will connect to the Osmo Pocket over Bluetooth and it'll say connected. You want to go back to your main screen and tap the Mimo icon, which will bring up the Mimo application. Inside the Mimo application in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a little icon that looks like a camera. If you tap that, it'll bring up the main menu for connection. And you have two choices there. You can use the smartphone adapter or you can use the Bluetooth adapter. You'll want to tap Bluetooth. The next screen brings up sort of a warning to let you know that you should have made a connection over Bluetooth already, and we've already done that. So you can hit the next button at the bottom. That'll bring up the connection screen for the Osmo Pocket with a connect button next to it. Tap connect. It'll take a couple of seconds, but eventually it'll tell you that the Mimo wants to connect up to your Osmo Pocket. And do you want to join those two together? So tap join. Once you do that, it'll let you know it's made the connection. If you hit OK, you can start recording. The process of connecting to your Osmo Pocket wireless module over Wi-Fi is very straightforward as well. You'll start on the main screen of your phone and find the settings icon. When you tap that, it'll bring up the settings menu. In this case, you want to look for the Wi-Fi connection. Make sure you turn that on. The minute you do, you'll see the Osmo Pocket as a target that you can connect to. If you tap the Osmo Pocket, it'll come up and ask you for a password if it's the first time you've connected to the device. That password is 12341234. So enter that password and tap join. It'll take a couple of seconds, but eventually it'll actually connect. You'll see a checkbox next to it knowing you're talking to the Osmo Pocket from your device. You'll then go back to the main screen on your phone and tap the DJI Mimo app. That'll bring up a main screen for the DJI Mimo, and in this case it'll immediately come up and say, do you want to connect and start recording? All you do is tap at this point. It'll bring up the main screen for your Mimo app and you can start recording.
Now that you know how to connect the unit, I thought I'd do a brief demonstration to show you what it looks like when you make that connection and how much control you get using that remote application. Now right now I've got the Osmo Pocket powered on and plugged into the wireless module, and you'll notice a red light down the bottom. That indicates the wireless module is ready to go, but it hasn't connected to anything. So let me bring up the application on my phone. Now first I have to connect to the unit. I'm going to do that over Wi-Fi. I could use Bluetooth, but I happen to like the Wi-Fi connection. So I go to my Wi-Fi settings, I look for the Osmo Pocket, I tap on it. It takes a second to handshake with the Osmo Pocket. Now, if you've entered the password already, it'll remember that. If you haven't, you'll have to enter that password, 12341234. Okay, I'm connected. Now I'll bring up the Mimo app, and immediately the Mimo app knows that it's been connected, and it'll bring up the same screen on here. Now, you'll notice once I transfer control to the remote application, the screen over here goes blank, and that's because you can only have one screen on at a time. But now I've got complete control of the unit, and I can use the joystick to spin it around. I can make adjustments to what I'm looking at, and I love this because being so far away from that camera and still being able to control the action, it's like having a robot up there moving that camera around, capturing exactly what I want to capture on this particular product. It's absolutely amazing. So anyway, that's how you can move the joystick around. I can make adjustments to the video, pictures. I can make adjustments to the settings inside to adjust for light or dark conditions or change ISO settings, whatever I want to do. So complete control in my hands, a great distance away from that product is just an amazing thing. Now, one other thing I wanted to point out, and I'll show you how to do this, I love extending the battery length on this thing as well, because if I'm using it in an environment where I'm doing hyperlapse or something where it's going to be outside for a long time at a baseball game or at a sporting event, something like that, I'll use an external battery bank, and you can use a standard USB-C connection. So USB-C on one end, USB-A on the other end, you plug it into the battery bank, you plug it into the back of the module, and you're good to go. Now, I love the fact that I can extend that so much longer, because think of the size of the battery inside that little guy compared to the size of the battery inside this guy. It's just fantastic. I use a 10,000 milliampere hour battery bank. That's about the right size. I call it the Goldilocks size, where it's not too big, not too small. It's just right at 10,000 milliampere hours. That'll give you literally hours and hours and hours of use of this product without draining the internal battery. So something to consider if you're going to be using this outside. And that's pretty much it. I, again, love this. So stay tuned, then I'll come back and give you some final thoughts. In this last section, I'd like to give you my impressions of the Osmo Pocket wireless module. Now, I've had this product for a couple of weeks, and I've tested it extensively. I've used Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to connect to it. I've filmed indoors and outdoors under a ton of different conditions, and the product just works. It's one of those beautiful accessories. You bring it home, you plug it in, and it does exactly what the company says it's going to do. Now, it's not a complicated device. It doesn't do a million things. It does one thing really well. It allows you to use your Osmo Pocket at a distance and connect remotely to a device to control what that Osmo Pocket's going to do. And that's really all I need, because I love this Osmo Pocket. I use it all the time. I think it's a groundbreaking device. It's brilliant in its design. But the fact that I can now use it remotely by using that tiny little module on the bottom, it just opens up a whole range of possibilities for me to record at sporting events or performances at a distance and control exactly what that camera's going to see. So it just works. And when you look at the design of the thing, it could have been big and clunky, and that would have been terrible because it's a portable device. You want it small and portable as well. I think the engineers did an amazing job of packing a ton of brains into this tiny little disc. Again, that's no bigger than an Oreo. I just love it. I love it from a design perspective, but more I love it from a functionality perspective. And then one other thing I'll say is that I also love a company, and I know I'm going to get accused of being a DJI fanboy, but I love a company that releases a product, then continues to release accessories that expand the use of that product. So they could have just released the Osmo Pocket, and that would have been great, but they thought about it and said, how can we record remotely with this? A lot of those action cameras have it built in. We want to do the same thing. They came out with a module. Thank you for doing that. And there's a slew of other accessories that expand it even further, and I'll have reviews on those once we get a chance to review them in the field. But for me, if you're looking for accessories for your Osmo Pocket, and I recommend this thing completely because it's probably the first one you're going to want to spend money on. It's going to expand what you can do with the product. and it's just a brilliant device in so many ways. So that's pretty much all I had for today. So if you have any questions about anything I've covered, please drop them in the comments below, because I know a lot of you are new to this device and you probably have a ton of questions maybe that I didn't get to in this clip. I'm happy to get back to you and answer them, because I love putting these clips together to explain technology I use so you guys get a better use out of it as well. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. I have a ton of other reviews coming on this product, accessories for it, as well as a whole lot of other high-tech gear that we're going to be reviewing over the next couple of weeks, and you're not going to want to miss any of that. I also have links if you want to find it down below for this guy. I'll put links down below for a battery bank. We sell these cables. They're high quality cables. I'll put a link down there for those if you want. I'll even put a link down there for the Oreos in case you want to find a place to get Oreos quick. But that was pretty much it for today. And again, thank you so much for watching. I love doing these kind of clips for you. And I got a whole lot of tech stuff I've got to get rid of here. A lot of test gear that I got to get rid of. So I'll say thanks for watching. And until next time. Happy flying!